Welcome to Folio, an actual play podcast about solo and epistolary TTRPGs. I'm your host, Satah, and I'm showcasing multiple possible experiences of self-paced games by inviting guests to play them alongside me so I can compile our stories together. You can support the show financially at patreon.com/foliopod or with a one-off donation at ko-fi.com/foliopod. This is episode 1 of our games of Highway Haunt, a one-page journaling narration story-building game inspired by the world of Alice Isn't Dead and the gameplay of Yahtzee by Jacqueline Lewis. The other two in it for the long haul, as it were, with me today are Adam, Vass, and Joe. My playthrough was actually recorded live on stream back in April. This was a game that patrons voted on for me to play, and I loved what happened with it so much that I decided to build an episode around it. Let's get on the road.
Hello, everyone. It is Joe, friend of the show here.
I'm Adam Vass. I make tabletop games in Grand Rapids, Michigan, and you can find my games at worldchamp.io.
1 second. I didn't turn my monitor off, and I got scared when I heard myself.
Taking a crack at Highway Haunt.
And today I'm playing Highway Haunt,
the solo storytelling game
by Jacqueline Lewis.
I'm very excited to get into this.
I'm going to read you the entrance. It's going to be really impressive. 1 second.
I'm just going to go ahead and read everything and do as much of this out loud as I can.
You are a truck driver, carrying your cargo along a long and lonely route.
But you soon realize there's more on this road than rest stops and deer crossings. There is something else.
There is something else.
Something sinister.
Something foreboding.
Something foreboding.
Something you only catch out of the corner of your eye.
What does it have in store for you?
Will you survive to see your destination?
If so, will you be the same person you were when you left?
Will you be the same person you were when you left?
Begin the game with the following stats. Gasoline level.
A measure of the fuel in your truck's tank begins at and cannot go above 30. We've got that.
Journey score, a measure of how far you have gone on your journey, both within and without, begins at 0. Okay.
For the sake of immersion, this game uses the second person you to refer to the character being played. Answer these questions about the character before you start the journey and keep them in mind when answering prompts down the line.
Okay. Character creation. Love it.
What U.S. state are you from? What do you leave behind there when you go on the road?
Let's see. Where am I from? There are so many states to choose from.
Recently on Tumblr, a thing was going around that was like, how many U.S. states can you name in 6 minutes or something like that? And I was so disappointed with myself because I got nearly half, which I think that I should know fewer U.S. states.
I'm actually going to choose Oklahoma as the state. I've been thinking about Oklahoma a lot. I've been thinking about the band Chat Pile. It's from Oklahoma City. And the show Reservation Dogs takes place in Oklahoma. So yeah, I've got Oklahoma on my mind. I've never been, but you know, I know quite a lot about the history and some of the present circumstances going on there, and I think it's a great place to run away from as far as I can surmise.
I totally get where it's coming from, especially with like the Alice Isn't Dead reference point, because that podcast, which I love very much, is very explicitly like an Americana thing, right? I think that it doesn't have a huge weight on my game just because it won't like inform me that much. I assume that it'll be about like vibe and landscape and that kind of thing, but I'm just going to transmute it up. Just going to be from Ontario. That's okay. We have a big highway here. The biggest one, in fact, and so it would make sense.
I am going to be from the Midwest because that's where I'm from, and that's really the only place I know anything about. But I'm going to say I'm from Indiana, the crossroads of America. I feel like that's a good place for a trucker to be from.
So I'm not from a U.S. state, I'm from somewhere in Ontario.
I'm from Oklahoma, and what do I leave behind there?
As for what do you leave behind there when you go on the road?
I got a dog, a loyal dog. People with dogs, they'll get it.
One of the things that really drew me to this game is that it has a set of inspiration tables. There are 6 of them, and they're great. They're really good. There's a table called Bad Memories. There's a table called Ominous Statements, and there's one called Mysterious Forces. And I think just to like give me a little more guidance for what I leave behind, I think I'm going to roll on the Ominous Statements table and sort of like try and generalize from that the thing that my life is and make it something good.
My character's name is Henry, and Henry is a former professional wrestler. Yes. Professional wrestling is a career that many young people go into, especially young men and women who have athletic promise, but maybe don't make it to the state college level. Henry was a professional wrestler. He got hurt really, really bad in a match. So the thing that he is leaving behind in Oklahoma is medical debt. Yeah. He, professional wrestlers don't have unions or contracts or anything unless you're really famous. And so he has decided to say, screw it. I'm leaving. I'm getting out of here. And so he takes a job as a long haul truck driver.
Rolled a 1, which is you can never go back. That's really interesting. I think that I'm going to like interpret that like really widely and say that so I was born somewhere, as many people are, and then I moved away, and then I moved back and had a lot of those conversations about like things aren't the same because things can't ever be the same. They're not, it's just not going to be like what it was when I was a kid here, which is both good and bad. Like I would assume there's a reason that I left and a reason I came back. And so I think that just very broadly, I'm going to say a community, people who I've known for a long time. I don't think I have a partner. I think that I moved back to my hometown after like a really bad breakup or something. And maybe there's like a childhood will they, won't they, who I've been like slowly getting to know again as an adult, but it's nothing like super solid. But I have a community, I have people, I have somebody who I think I could really like at some point, but it's something I'm still building. It's not something that is like fully established.
Question 2, what sort of company do you drive for, and what are you transporting on your journey?
I was just listening to a podcast similar to this with a truck driver, and I liked the idea that they don't know what's inside the bed, so I'm going to say that I'm just like a freight shipping or like private shipping. I also just learned that was a thing from watching a awful reality show with my friends Will and Tyler on a TV in a hotel where private shippers bid for jobs. Anyway, private shipping, very discreet. So I don't know what's in the back. I just know I'm not supposed to look.
I think I'm going to roll on the bad memories table. I got another 1. A loved one telling you why they hate you. Okay. The first thought that I had there was self-help books. Like really, because genuinely the first thing was like self-help books that are like, here's why everybody who's ever criticized you is wrong. And so I think just to like, again, generalize that I'm delivering books. And do I work specifically for this company? I think that I work for essentially a like bulk print on demand bookseller service. It's the type of thing where influencers will write and self-publish a book, and then they can make deals to like a store will buy 300 copies of them and then I deliver them. Do I work for the company or do I work for like a bigger transportation? I think that I work specifically for this company because there's something that is like really like it's not contracted out. There's something that I really like about the like incredible specificity of being a delivery driver for one company. And you might be like, hey, The idea of a bulk print-on-demand service seems like the worst of all worlds when it comes to economies of scale and efficiency. And you would be correct. But somebody has to work in the bubbles before they pop. And that's what I'm up to.
I think Henry works for like a PepsiCo or like a Frito-Lay corporation, like a brand that specializes in snack foods, maybe some in-universe version of like Doritos or something. Like, yeah. And I think that what he specializes in delivering is like soft drink products. He's got the Pepsi hookup, that's for sure.
Now, the third question is, what haunts you? Why can't you be rid of it?
Tempted to say medical debt again, but also, I think putting your body on the line night after night, you kind of, develop a lot of codependency on like this really toxic and fleeting business that is full of a lot of people who want to take advantage of you and want to, use you up as like a commodity, as a thing. And I think Henry is trying to get away from that. He's trying to, not throw his body on the slab to be used by, capitalism. He's trying to maintain some semblance of bodily function, whatever's left over after his accident. And I think aside from running away from medical debt, he's haunted by, some really toxic relationships that he had, business relationships and personal relationships. Maybe there was a moment in his career when he had like a tag team partner and he thought that they were going to make it big together, and, things turned out differently, So it goes in the gritty world of professional wrestling.
I'm going to roll, I could roll on bad memories again, but I think I'm going to roll on uncanny visions for a swirl of black mist. I did say that I had a big bad breakup, so there's definitely that. But I think I also I'm trying to swirl of black mist, like something magical. And I'm thinking of the thing of like returning to the hometown. If there's a little bit of like an it situation going on where it's like, oh yeah, we remember as kids we defeated a big magical evil, but now we're all kind of like, that probably wasn't real. I think that's it. I think, yeah, not diving too far into those things yet, but the thing that haunts me is I had this big breakup, which is probably in some way related to the fact that as a teen or as a kid, I was involved in some sort of like magic thing that I have grown up to be like, wow, kids have crazy imaginations. That was not real. But was it? Yes. So I've written big breakup and kid magic. I'll remember to worry about it. Why can't I be rid of it? Certainly still grieving the breakup. And also, I just moved back to my hometown where this magic thing happened. So it's going to come up. And there's probably like a, every 15 years, the moon and Saturn something. Like there's an event of some kind that's going on cosmologically and magically and spiritually.
I'm going to say that I'm haunted by like an inability to fit in. I think this kind of my gut answer and my simple answer was loneliness, but I think obviously truck driving is a very lonely job. So I think specifically our driver drives to get away from society that he doesn't agree with and to have a different kind of loneliness, like a kind of self-imposed, this is what I want type of loneliness on the road. So that's my setup.
Next, we go into the journey.
This game is played using 5 6-sided dice. Got them right here.
Each turn, the narrating player begins by rolling all 5 dice and reducing the gasoline level by 1. The narrating player may then do a reroll, taking any number of dice and rolling them again. Each reroll reduces the gasoline level by 1 and can be repeated any number of times.
When the narrative player no longer wishes to reroll, they select a category from among the following:
1s, 2s, 3s, 4s, 5s, 6s, 3 of a kind, 4 of a kind, 2 pair, full house, small straight, large straight, 5 drive, which is 5 of a kind, and chance.
Based on the category selected, they add points to the journey score, complete the relevant journaling narration prompts,
and mark off the category, which can no longer be used in this game. Oh, Yahtzee, I get it.
The game ends when you've completed all the categories or your gasoline level hits 0.
Okay, so this is some real Yahtzee. Yeah, this is very familiar. Okay.
I love the mechanics of this game. Like, I mean, you know, given that I have released a game where the narrative mechanics are based on Go Fish and another one that uses a like cootie catcher fortune teller, it probably isn't a surprise that I am incredibly delighted by using the mechanics of like different competitive games to make a narrative tabletop game. But I am very delighted by it. I'm also sure that you could play this incredibly strategically by knowing how dice work, and I don't, and probably never will, and so we're gonna go vibes based and have a great time.
There's also a couple nice dice tables for inspiration that I might use, but I have my sort of solo play assistant, which is a deck of fortune-telling playing cards. They're like normal playing cards, but they also have a little illustration and a little like text prompt on them, and I kind of use those to supplant prompts in solo games and if I get stuck or something. I'm going to be playing as this fictional truck driver from Indiana with a loyal dog, but I'll be playing in first person, so I'll just say I and not have an explicit name, I think.
So
I
am going to do my first roll.
Let's get playing.
Let's just go for it.
Here we go.
All right, first roll. 2 5s, 3, 2, and 6.
I rolled a 2, a 3, a 5, and 2 6s.
2 4s, a 1, a 6, and a 1. Ooh, could I go for the full house right away?
I'm gonna try to re-roll those 3, 2, and 6 and see if I can get some more 5s. I got 1, and so I've spent 2 gas.
You lose 1 gasoline to start the turn. I'm gonna lose a 2nd gasoline to re-roll the 2 and the 3. They became a 2 and a 4. Not much better.
Yeah, it's 2 and 2. So either I can get a 2 pair or I can get a full house. So I'm just going to re-roll 1 time. Or do I go for 2 pair?
I'm going to go 1 more time. I think in Yahtzee you go 3 times usually.
Do I want to do it 1 more time? I do. Re-rolling the 2 and the 4. Hey, worth it. Became 2 6s. So now I've got 4 6s and a 5. And so the category that I'm going to use is 6s.
I got a 1 and a 3. So I'm just going to go 3 of a kind.
I think I'm going to go for 2 pair. Okay.
Small town. Add the values of all dice showing 6s to the journey score. Hell yeah. I've got 4 dice showing a 6, so I'm adding a 24. That's pretty good.
The radio. If you have 2 dice showing 1 value and 2 dice showing another value, add 20 to the journey score. Awesome. Will do.
I add the values of all dice to the journey score. Interesting. So I get the 1 and the 3 that I didn't want, so 15, 16, 17, 18, 19.
You turn on the radio to hear a strange crackle followed by the sound of people talking. Do you recognize their voices? Ooh, this is a great question. I would say yes, because the voices on the radio are I think they're the hosts of a radio program that Henry listens to all the time. Henry loves to listen to the radio. He's a bit of a radio fanatic. FM, AM, all that stuff. And he's a little bit of like a radio historian as well. But one of his favorite programs is Unidentified FM Object. It's a weekly call-in show. No, it's a nightly call-in show that is kind of like Coast to Coast AM. For those of you who don't know, that was a radio program. I think it's still on the air, but it was hosted by Art Bell, who is this like conspiracy theorist, and it's a very influential talk radio program. It's had a lot of really interesting guests and moments and stuff sort of happen there, and yeah, it's a well-known staple of like the conspiracy community. So he turns on the radio and he hears voices that he definitely recognizes, because this is actually a repeat episode, and sort of he tunes in and sort of lets himself sort of get lost in the malaise of the standard radio, the Unidentified FM Object show. If you increased your journey score, what about their conversation leaves you at ease?
Right, yeah. So I think one of the things about this game is that you can choose a category even if you don't fulfill it. I think you have to choose a category every time, but it's the kind of thing where, like, you know, I've spent the 6s category. I did that in my first turn. If I roll 5 6s in the future and I'm like, oh, well, I can't choose 6s, nothing else fits, I just have to choose a category and then basically fail the category and don't add to my journey score. I think that's how it works. I assume that I would understand this a little bit better if I knew how Yahtzee works.
I wish I maybe need to be more, I need to know more about Yahtzee to do this, but maybe if I like pick a category, like if nothing's left, then that's what happens.
I don't know how any games work, which is a wild thing for me to say given the industry that I'm in generally and my hobbies.
Yeah, I think it's a very common, or rather, because it's a rerun, he sort of Henry kind of gets in this like mood of like, it's like listening to an old podcast episode that you really like. You know, I love podcasts. I listen to podcasts all the time. So there are certain episodes that I will just go back and listen to because, you know, even if they're really old episodes, I kind of know how they go and some of the jokes that are made or some of the bits or whatever. And it's an episode about cryptids. And specifically the cryptid that gets brought up is Bigfoot, which Henry kind of uses as like an opportunity to like sort of reflect on, you know, Bigfoot, like, you know, where did this like cryptid idea come from, you know, the history of it and such. And the guest is talking about how, you know, he saw Bigfoot and there's people calling in asking for proof or whatever. And Henry's just kind of getting lost in like the kind of storytelling that you can get away with on the radio, and sort of how there's that like old tradition of like telling ghost stories or folk tales or urban legends or whatever. And he, you know, can't get enough of it. So he really feels kind of like calmed by this like conversation in the same way that listening to something familiar puts you at ease.
You go inside and find an attendant waiting for you. Where have you entered? What help are you looking for? So I think obviously I've gone into a truck stop. I've in my real life spent many hours in truck stops, and I think everyone's familiar with like the convenience part of it, the bathroom part, but there's usually also like showers in the back. There's often like a little like gambling area, which is always a little sketchy, and then some restaurants and stuff like for drivers specifically, or there'll be seating sections for drivers. So I think I'm just gonna go to the attendant because I need a shower. I'm feeling sweaty. The sun's been beating on me through the window, and I just need to book a time slot in there. I have increased my journey score So it says, what does the attendant give you that lightens your load? I think maybe I want to book a shower, and in the sort of like desperation to feel a little cleaner, a little like fresher, I didn't bring anything with. I just brought my clothes. I didn't bring like soap or a washcloth or any kind of like actual shower utilities. So the attendant they kind of see that like I'm desperate. It's on my face and the sweat on my forehead, and they say, actually, I can just grab a soap from the shelf there. And they all look like they won't charge me for it. It's been a long day. They've had a long day, and I think we both kind of commiserate over this late summer heat wave that's kind of beating down on everybody. And this little reprieve, this moment of kindness, gives me what I'm looking for. And kind of like, again, this inability to fit in that sort of plagues me feels a crack within that belief system, and as I connect with another person who's willing to show me some empathy.
You slow down as the highway becomes the main street of a small town. What in this town feels familiar? What in this town feels out of place? My first instinct is to like, it feels really familiar to me, and at first I'm like, this must be somewhere I visited as a kid. And then I look a little closer, or I'm driving through, and the familiarity is so strong, I'm realizing like, this is my hometown, but 30, 40 years ago, before like so much development happened, like really playing off of the like, you can't go back thing of having just moved back to my hometown. I'm like, oh my God, it's so much shorter than I remember. Right, they did a lot of development. And I think it's even like, this is what the town looked like when I was born. So even before like my conscious memories of it, maybe it's the kind of thing where like I was born, and then in the next 5 years, downtown sprung up, like, and it's been developed even more since then. But like, I've mostly only seen this version of my hometown in pictures, and I have some vague memories. And I think like, I'm telling myself that it just looks like that, right? Because that wouldn't make any sense. And I'm having these memories of these pictures I saw, maybe even a video that I saw of like the day I was born. There's like a home video of my parents like stopping at a bakery downtown on the way to the hospital, because my mother was like, I don't care if this kid is on the way, I need a donut. and I see that shop, and I'm like, oh, okay, no, this is what my hometown looked like when I was born. And that is already pretty out of place. I'm trying to think if there's like more to it. I think, is it more interesting if it's empty, or if I see, oh, that's my neighbor, but 40 years younger? I think I'm going to roll on a table, because I love to roll on a table. Do I want to do uncanny visions or strange characteristics? I'm going to do both and possibly discard one. So I rolled a 5 on uncanny visions. That would be the faces of those you've let down. And strange characteristics would be features that fluctuate between very old and very young. I mean, that's perfect. I'm not even going to roll another one. I'm going to keep both. Yeah, this town is filled with, it is people who are familiar to me, people who I remember. I think one of the things, like the people I let down, I think in part this is like, yeah, I've moved back to my hometown and have this community and these friends, but I think there were the circumstances of when I left weren't great. I had some responsibilities that I abandoned, in part because of this relationship that has now ended. And yeah, I think some of those people have forgiven me or are on their way to forgiving me, and we're connecting, but not all of them. And the combination of that, like, I'm seeing all of those people with their features fluctuating between old and young. And so it's like, I don't recognize them at first because they look significantly older. I see like a bunch of like 70-year-olds sitting around a table outside that bakery that my parents stopped at the day I was born. And I'm looking at them. I'm at a red light. And they look up at me. And their faces go back to what they looked like in their early 20s. Like the day that I left. And I see them looking at me. It's the exact same, like, it's the angle that I saw them as I left town. I saw them in the mirror, exactly like I'm seeing them now. And I blink, they're old again. But I realize they are the same. And I think that there's a big part of me that, like, has been struggling with the concept that I have to make up for any of that stuff. Like, I'm like, can it be enough that I'm just back? Can't we just, like, accept that as sort of a tacit apology for any hurt that I caused as I left? And so this reminder that, like, no, there might actually be stuff you have to deal with in order for this to work is scary to me. And so I just keep going. It's like, it is haunting, and it sticks with me, but I'm able still at this point to be like, ooh, guilty conscious, but also I don't even want to think about that. Ignore it and keep going.
So I guess we just keep rolling.
Next turn, rolling dice.
I rolled 3 4s, a 3, and a 6.
All right. Ooh, okay. This is interesting. I got a 1, 2, and 3, and I got 2 6s. Huh. Right. Okay.
1, 2, 4, 5. 5. I feel like I can get a straight if I can get a 3 with this 5.
I'm going to re-roll my 6s. I'm going to try and get a straight. A small or large straight.
Probability is hard. Let's roll this 5 again. I got a 3.
All right. Oh my gosh. Oh my God. I got it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah. I was like, oh, I only got the 4, but no, I got a full blown straight. All right.
Take my gasoline down 1. I am going to take it down another 1 to re-roll my 3 and my 6. I rolled 2 3s. Okay, so I have 2 3s and 3 4s, and that is a full house. I only know what that is because of Balatro. Thank you, Balatro.
So I only used 2 gas that time, and I got a large straight.
Yeah, I have the large straight. It's like me, but straight.
If you have 2 dice showing one value and 3 dice showing another value, add 25 to the journey score. Nice.
If you have 5 dice showing consecutive values, add 40 to the journey score.
Awesome. So now my journey score is at 60.
So I went from 0 to 19 to 59. That feels good. That feels like a high score. We'll see.
Stopping to rest. Let's go.
You stop to sleep for a few hours and wake up in the dark, unable to move.
There's someone in your room.
How do they embody that which haunts you?
Oh.
I think they are my shape and size, but I just see this sort of void, like a not quite a shadow. People who have experienced sleep paralysis maybe would liken this to like your sleep paralysis demon, just someone that looks and feels just like me, but is nothing.
Oh boy. Okay. Henry in his previous life was a professional wrestler, and he had a tag team partner, and they would make the roads together. They would make the towns together. They would, go from town to town, wrestling these very small bingo halls and, your local chamber of commerce venues and whatever. And his tag team partner was named Dylan. And Dylan had sort of like trained Henry and brought him into the business. He taught him how to hit the ropes and how to do moves safely and how to, sort of negotiate for pay, and he really took care of Henry in those early years. And they were a tag team, and they were very dead set on, making it through the business together and maybe getting on television, getting a big contract, lots of money, guaranteed contract money and house shows and merchandise, and eventually sort of something that happened was Henry and Dylan were in a match, and something went wrong. Henry and Dylan were set up to do a tag team move, which is like a tag team finisher, and something went wrong, and they slipped, and Henry hurt himself really bad. He broke his leg, and Dylan landed in a really bad way, and he died. That was that was the end of Henry's dream of being a wrestler, is, this awful accident that happened. And there's somebody in the room when he's taking this sort of rest at this rest stop, and it's Dylan. He's sort of leaning up against the frame of the door to the room, and he just sees like his shadow. He just sees him from behind, and Dylan is smoking a cigarette, and he can see the smoke sort of trail up from the cigarette, and he can smell the cigarette smoke. And Henry, while he's like half awake, half asleep, sort of says like, "I thought I told you to quit. It's not good for you. It's not gonna, you're gonna get sick, right?" And Dylan kind of like scoffs and says, "Wrestlers aren't meant to live forever. You know that, Henry. We live fast and we live dangerously, and if we're lucky, we're remembered."
I did increase my journey score this turn, so how do you escape them? I think I squirm. I'm like trying to move in bed and finding it difficult. I can blink and I can move my eyes around, but my limbs are stuck. I can feel that sort of tension in my muscles where I'm issuing them commands and they are not quite able to respond to those commands, and my body is stuck in place. And the thing, the entity, the demon, the shape comes towards me slowly, and I find it harder to breathe, and suddenly something finally gives and my upper body shoots up, and I let out this like yelp from my throat. This voice that's been stuck in my chest kind of just pours out of my mouth as I kind of snap up, and the shape is gone, and I can see maybe like a dim light under the door of this hotel that's from the hallway, and the light is enough to sort of dispel this dark shape, or at least I can't see it in the room anymore.
Henry sort of readjusts, turns on the light in the room, and the ghost of Dylan is gone. And whether Dylan was really there or it was just another nightmare, Henry's not sure. He just knows that the door was unlocked. So he locks the door and gets dressed and gets ready for the next day.
The phone call. The chime of your ringtone sounds, and you pick up your phone to hear a voice you weren't expecting. Who's on the other end? Are they of this world? If you increased your journey score, what about the conversation gives you closure? I did increase my journey score, and so something about the conversation gives me closure. If I didn't increase my journey score, it would be what about the conversation fills you with dread? Incredible. My first thought for somebody calls you who you weren't expecting is the ex, right? My recent ex. Is it too soon to bring that up? I think it isn't. I mean, it kind of is, but like, that's okay. I think I'm going to go with it anyway. Yeah, I know exactly what it is. Okay. So similarly to like, I was saying that I had the exact same image of my friends in the rear view as I was leaving. It's just a continuation of that. It's like I left and I was driving myself. And I think the thing that I'm coming to is this relationship maybe wasn't awesome. And I think that's part of the thing that my friends were like, hey, you're abandoning a bunch of your responsibilities for somebody who couldn't even come to pick you up when you're moving. Like, you're moving by yourself because this person like last minute canceled on coming to help you. And I was very in love, just like, whatever, it's fine. It's understandable because of reasons. Stop looking at me like that. And as I was leaving, you know, just as I got out of town, my now ex called to make sure that I was on the way. So I'm ruminating in that, like, oh, I just had this weird deja vu experience where I saw the same thing over again, or it seemed like it. And then my phone rings. And I think for a moment it's confusing because, like, I'm trying to decide if it's my old ringtone or if I'm so in the past in this moment that I, like, don't recognize my current ringtone. Oh, no, it does ring. My actual ringtone and appears. And I am, like, shocked because I haven't had my ringtone on in 10 years. It should just be vibrating. But it's audibly ringing. And do I take the call on Bluetooth or do I pull over? I think I take the call on Bluetooth, which wasn't possible at the time, maybe. Like when I moved 10, 15 years ago or whatever. Ooh, yeah, that's the thing. I go to reach for my phone to just answer it and then have a, like, snap to the present, be like, nope, what? Oh my God, Bluetooth. And yeah, it is my ex. Are they of this world? I think unclear. I think, like, this conversation is going to give me closure. Two options that immediately presented themselves to me were, it is essentially my ex as I imagined her, like the kind, the better version of her that I, like, believed in, that made me, like, work with this, like, terrible relationship for, like, 10, 15 years before finally giving up for some reason. The other slightly darker idea is that we never actually did break up. She died. And so as a general thing, that is interesting to me because it becomes about, like, reckoning with the complicated legacy of somebody who died. Like, she died and I have to deal with that grief and also have the guilt of, like, oh, wow, things are better. I like that idea personally. Do I want it to be front and center in this game? I think that it can be true and also not a major theme. So I think that is what it's going to be. And, like, the ex, like, she died there was an accident. There was just some random accident and she died. And it's been a little while and I moved back to my hometown and have just been reckoning with, like, I'm grieving this person who I loved, and also, oof, that was really not healthy, was it? That was actually bad. We should have broken up. I'm not glad that she died, but I do wish that we had just broken up at some point. And then feeling guilty for that because I'm like, you're gonna feel better after somebody died, etc., etc. Anyway, she is on the other end of the line. So no, she is not of this world because she's dead. It gives me closure. I wonder, yeah, I think she comments on the fact that I just had this, like, flashback of when I moved out of my hometown to go and be with her. So I pick up the call and I don't think I say anything because I see that it's her number on the caller ID or whatever, and I don't say anything. And there's just, like, kind of a silence. And then she goes, like, yeah, in retrospect, that really wasn't a good sign, was it? That I couldn't even make time for you. And also that you couldn't be flexible at all with when you were moving. You know, if you'd just been willing to wait till the next day. We didn't have a truck rental or anything. There was no reason it had to be that day. And I could have come and helped you the next day. We were both so stubborn. And we just talk a little bit. I think we talk about, like, the fight that we had on this version of this call the first time it happened. We talk about, like, how it started the conversation. I think we're talking about the conversation, but it becomes very clear that it is also about the general arc of our relationship, that it's like, it started very sweet and then got very complicated. But then we made up by the end. And yeah, it's just, and I'm kind of like in shock, but also enjoy, like, it's nice. We never had the chance to, or never took the chance to have a conversation like this when she was alive. And maybe we should have. We certainly should have. And I think, yeah, that's it. It's just like we have this conversation, and then at the very end, it sort of goes back to feeling like it's a recording being played back. Like, she goes, the way that she ended the conversation the first time, she ends it. She says, like, okay, my break is ending, so I gotta go. But I'm so excited that I'm gonna be coming home to you for the first time. Love you. And I like smile and I'm like, yeah, I love you too. I'll see you at home. And we both laugh and the call disconnects and I feel good, to the extent that I sort of forget for a moment that I maybe just talked to a ghost or something.
Let's go. Let's continue.
Let's roll these dice again.
Rolling dice.
2 5s, a 6, and 2 3s.
Interesting. I got 1, 2, 3, 3, 5. So I almost got it straight again. I'm gonna roll this 3 and 5 again. Try to get a 4.
Okay, I got a 5, a 6, 6, and a 2. I can't go for a 2 pair.
Let's just go right for 2 pair.
Oh, I got 2 6s. 1, 2, 3, 6, 6. I'm gonna re-roll. I want this small straight.
I'm gonna re-roll and I'm gonna try and get 5s.
2 and 5. All right. 1 and 6.
Oh my god, it was 2. I got 2 6s and a 3 again. What the heck?
This isn't going according to plan. I'm wasting a lot of gas on this turn. 2 and 6.
I'm going to try and re-roll again for another 5. Because if I can at least get some 5s, or maybe like a 3 of a kind or 4 of a kind, that'd be awesome.
I have sunken cost fallacy. I think I need to continue rolling, but I'm down from 30 now to 20 gasoline.
Oh my gosh, yes, dude. 3 and then 2 more 5s. So that's 4 of a kind. I'm gonna take it.
1 and 2. I'm gonna stop there because I don't want to run out of more gas and use this as 2 pair.
If you have 2 dice showing one value and 2 dice showing another value, I do, 2 3s and 2 5s, add 20 to the journey score,
which is now 79.
Okay, so my fuel is 26. Just gonna make sure that I write that down. If you have 4 dice showing the same value, add all the values to the dice, of all the dice to the journey score. Ooh, okay, so that's 20. So my new score is 80.
My journey score is now 69. You may fill in your reaction. Whatever it is.
The prompt is the stranger. You stop on the road and meet a stranger. Where have you stopped? What does the stranger know about you that sends shivers down your back? Oh, buddy. Oh, man. Okay. So Henry has gotten dressed and he's, slamming some coffee out of his thermos, and he looks up and he sees a young lady on the side of the road. She is sort of waving him down, sort of like trying to signal him to slow down and to pick her up. And it's common knowledge at this point that truckers are not supposed to pick up hitchhikers, but Henry is a pretty giving guy, so he actually does pull over and picks up this young woman. She comes into the cab. She has dark black hair. She looked like she's in her 50s, maybe. She's got a lot of plastic shopping bags, but she's dressed very neatly. She gets in the cab, and Henry sort of introduces himself and tells him, asks where she's going and if she needs, like, any food or drink or anything like that. And the lady sort of introduces herself. She says, "My name is Brenda." And she does a double take and she says, "Wait a minute. Are you?" And Henry, at this moment, all of the color drains from Henry's face. His face becomes totally pale. So much color drains from his phase that his hair starts to gray. Like it's kind of it's kind of wild how this. It's pretty apparent that she sends shivers down his spine because she knows that he is indeed one half of the Bigfoot brothers. Yeah. Henry sort of like pulls his cap, sort of like turns it around and says, "Yeah, it's me." Brenda interrupts him and says, "You and your brother were one of my favorite tag teams ever in that I've ever seen live. And I've seen every kind of tag team that comes through the state. I've seen the famous ones and I've seen the not famous ones, but you and your brother really had something." And Henry sort of very gets all the color returns to his face, but now he's very red. He's blushing, and he says, "Well, I appreciate that." And suddenly a calmness sort of comes over the cab, and as they're driving down the highway, she looks over solemnly and says, Sorry, I got really excited, and I didn't mean to bring up. It's okay. You don't have to apologize. It's just been hard." She says, "Yeah, I can't believe it's been, what, 2 years? Yeah, 2 years yesterday. I'm really sorry. I really did. I loved you guys. I thought that the Bigfoot gimmick was so interesting. It's so unique. It's like the Brothers of Destruction, but what if they were cryptids? It was just, it made a lot of sense to me. And, I've actually, speaking as somebody who on my mother's grave has seen Bigfoot, I think you guys did a pretty good job of impersonating him." And he goes, "Oh." Henry sort of chuckles nervously and says, "Yeah, we it was all Dylan's idea. He loved Bigfoot, and he loved reading all of those weird magazines and listening to the radio, and yeah, he came up with the gimmick. But yeah, it's funny you bring that up. We weren't actually really brothers." "You weren't?" No. He's actually my trainer. People thought we were brothers all the time, but we just come from the same reserve and same reservation, and well, we may have been cousins for all I know, but yeah, no, we weren't officially brothers. We just knew each other for a long time." Wow, that's incredible. You guys really wrestled like you knew each other and like you were related. Yeah, well, Kane and The Undertaker weren't related either. They weren't? No, actually, they were not related at all. No. Huh, jeez. You think you know somebody. Can't believe everything you see on TV. You're telling me. I feel like all those shows where they talk about, "Oh, I saw Bigfoot," or "I hunted Bigfoot," or whatever, I think it's just people trying to make some money. I think if you'd really seen Bigfoot, that's an experience that you can't capitalize on. It changes your life. Yeah? You said you saw him? Yeah, I saw him. I saw him when I was 15 years old. I was walking my brothers to school because we had missed our bus, and he was standing in the bushes, maybe 50 feet away from us, and when we saw him, we froze. He completely hypnotized us. Literally hypnotized us. And while we were hypnotized, we all froze and couldn't move our bodies at all, even though we really had to get to school. We had to hustle. And he just stared at us. He took notice of us, and he just made sure we weren't there to hurt nobody or look for him. We just had something else on our mind, and I don't know, he had this look in his eyes like, "I see you. I know no one's going to believe you. So you're safe. You can move on." Yeah, I guess you can let me off at the next stop, turnover, and or a turnpike, and yeah, I'll be on my way. Are you sure I can drive you to the next town? Nah, I'm not in town. I'm camping it. I'm roughing it tonight. Oh, are you sure? It's looking like it's gonna storm today. And Brenda sort of looks over at Henry and says, I know, but I'll be safe. I'll be safe. I got people out there looking after me. And when they come up to the next off-ramp, Henry pulls over and lets her out. And Brenda gives him one last look and says, I wish you well, Henry. And good luck. And Brenda closes the door and Harry drives off.
You turn on the radio to hear a strange crackle followed by the sound of people talking. Do you recognize their voices? If you increased your journey score, what about their conversation leaves you at ease?
I think these voices are fellow truckers, and this is the CB radio. They're talking about traffic and a speed trap that they saw on the highway nearby. It's sort of expected chatter from fellow truckers, and their voices are familiar. I might know their call signs, but not their real names or what they look like. Just fellow drivers out on the highway. And what about their conversation leaves you at ease? I think it's the mundanity. After this sort of incident, I think this is maybe the next morning, or maybe I couldn't fall back asleep after the encounter with the shadow creature, so I just hit the road, and the sun is going to come up soon. And I think just hearing two fellow journeymen talking about the normalcy of driving on the highway at night is refreshing and kind of checks me into the sense of reality that I was starting to waver on.
Well, this is perfect. Of course, I'm turning on the radio because the call ended. And I drive in silence for probably a while and then realize I've been driving in silence and turn the radio on. And I'm, flicking, hitting the seek button to find radio stations. And strange crackle followed by people talking. And it's a conversation that leaves me at ease. I'm just going to glance at my tables because my first thought was I hear other truckers talking, but I want to look. There is a mysterious forces table and a bad memories table again. I'm going to roll them both and see what the deal is. 5. On bad memories, it's being mocked for something you loved. Mysterious forces are a whisper in your ear you can't shake. I'm going to go with the result from the bad memories table, which is being mocked for something you loved. Oh, and so the voices I hear, it takes me a moment. I do recognize them because one of them is me. One of them is me, and the other ones are my ex and a bunch of her friends. And this is, again, something that really happened. We were at a party, and what did I bring up that I liked that they made fun of me for? It's something like the music at the party was a big ironic playlist, we don't actually like any of these songs, we're just listening to them ironically. And then I'm one of them comes on that I'm you know what? I really like this one. And young, we're all young. they can't just accept that and started making fun of me, and it escalated. And I think even my ex tells a small secret, is I'm being called basic or shallow or whatever, but teasingly. And my ex is honestly, you should have heard the mixtape, the mix CD that they burned for me when we were first getting together. And they're trying to be teasing, but I'm oh, I thought you really liked it. And they're oh no. She's oh no, I did. I mean, I liked that you made it for me. And something that, okay, I'm trying to think of so this actually all happened, and something, oh, okay. I think what it is that in real life, I like made a joke of it and left the room to go like calm down because it sucked. And I hear the conversation continue. I think they talk about other stuff for a while. And then I think like it could be that they're like, oh, maybe we were a little hard on them. I think what it is that, you know, it doesn't really fix things. Like this I think was probably something that often happened, that their friends just, like her friends thought that I was not cool enough to be involved for whatever reason. And I think that like the thing I hear here that puts me at ease is that like the friends try to like pick it back up again and actually be a little bit meaner now that I'm out of the room. And my ex, I hear her be like, shut up. I think it's not perfect. Like she can't defend me in a way that is super helpful, but I think what she does is like name something uncool that each of her friends likes. And it's like, it's one of those things where it's like, this isn't enough. This didn't fix it. This didn't make it healthy. But like, I never knew that she defended me behind closed doors at all, or ever tried to. And so even just like, yeah, it assuages a like lingering anxiety that's like, oh, she did think I was cool in some way, even if that wasn't enough. Yeah. I think one of the things about it that leaves me at ease as well is like a tiny reminder that I'm allowed to appreciate the good parts, because I'm having that push and pull of like grief and realizing that it sucked and like just swinging that pendulum back and forth and being like, oh right, yeah, there was some okay stuff and that's fine. Yeah, it's comforting. This has been Folio, an actual play podcast about solo and epistolary TTRPGs. You can find transcripts, game statistics, and more at foliopod.site. You can help pay for hosting costs, game purchases, and maybe eventually a bit of my production labor at patreon.com/foliopod or ko-fi.com/foliopod. You can find Adam on bluesky at worldchamp.bsky.social, and you can find their games at worldchamp.io. You can find Joe at thebedroompunk.bsky.social. You can find Satah, that's me, at pesetachips.gaygothvibes.online on Bluesky, and my stuff generally at gaygothvibes.online. I make games and music and stuff. Next week, Adam and Joe and I will continue our games of Highway Haunt by Jacqueline Lewis. Everything I mentioned here is linked in the show notes. Thanks so much for listening, and take care out there.